Hello everybody, we are here waiting for all the teachers to come, and we're going to be having a collaborative workshop on how we can be better at reflections when we're teaching.
If I make some minor mistakes or major mistakes in my English speech, or if I use inappropriate methodology, if I don't think about the needs of the students, because students could be of different knowledge level in that group. And it is very important to make each student understand this information. And just reflection is the key factor for professional development and growth, I think.
Yes. Ditto. You have a very different outlook. How do you use reflection in your work, in your practice every day?
I think that reflection and being reflective is a part of every teacher's job. Maybe the teacher's not always aware about that they're doing reflection, but anyway, when you work with people, after things you have discussed and you thought, you always think back. I think this is natural for everyone. If you really teach, so you want to achieve better results, better success, then you have to reflect. You do reflection in order to change something for better, to make it different, to help people to have a good outcome. Is what I understand by reflection. I do it often, and when I read an article, then I understand. This is the part of my development, right? I do this, and I do in different maybe formats.
So everybody here has their own ingrown ways of reflecting. So in this article, it's going to go over different ways that we can be better at reflecting. So let's go over and discuss, I guess, your different sections of what you read, and maybe you can paraphrase some of the important points from your part. So, do we have anybody do 2? 2 is like the introduction. So let's go over 3.
Methodology. It's a kind of practical reflection. Practical is related to the word practice, yes? Practical during the lesson, during the course.
Yeah, it's automatic.
Yes, we have to make a vast number of evaluated decisions quickly every lesson. That's why I decided to say that practical reflection is a reflection which requires the ability to make fast decisions.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Am I right?
If you didn't make a mistake, you're like, oh, you're going to correct them right now. But when you think, so that's automatic. That is practical. When you hear a mistake you made, you automatically want to correct them. But if you wait, then we go on to the next parts of reflection. Teachers, we all think we know the right answers, but sometimes we should give time for them to reflect, us to reflect, and maybe the students can reflect to help each other. It's not always we are the right. We are not always right.
What if I'm given the question which I don't know the answer? For example, I could be given different questions during the lesson. I'm not a genius, yes, and if I don't know exact answer right now, do I have to use adaptive reflection on them?
You can
and
always
tell them that just okay, let's talk about it later.
And next we have reflexivity.
Yeah, it's my part.
Reflexivity.
And I from Marina's talk, I understood that reflexivity is a logical continuation of practical reflection and active reflection, and then goes reflexivity. If we understand practical reflection during action reflection, adaptive reflection means when you think about changing your strategies, changing some classroom environment or so forth in order to get better result. Reflexivity in interactive reflection means being critical to your own work as a teacher, and critical, when we say critical, it may mean either negative or positive. You can even praise yourself, oh, I have done this perfectly well, how good teacher I am, things like that. Like specific awareness of success makes you feel relief, when you are reflecting positively, or you can feel regret of doing something not not as it was planned or wished, and you can choose some alternatives for your that let's say bad practice. And we can also speak about surfacing, which means which leads to learning as a teacher. And among those patterns documented were there are some recovery strategies in which we managed to get a lesson back on course after a difficulty. It means you faced a difficulty and you reflected on it, and you have come to a better choice, and this means you recover from the illness. Then internal reflexivity, what is the stress? Reflexivity. Reflexivity. So, internal reflexivity, in which we have time to reflect on a specific action during the lesson. It means when you have something specific, concrete situation during a lesson which needs a deeper reflection, and you, in that case, have internal reflexivity. And you may also have acknowledgement when we own up to a mistake or recognize the need to admit a problem or omission to the learners. So you are admitting your weak point, and you again having some decisions in order to improve that part for your next activities. Despite being less common than the other two types of interactive reflection, which are practical and adaptive, as I understand, we can identify that there are almost 100 examples of reflexivity in just 8 lessons. So in just 8 lessons, one teacher observed who took part in this practice made 100 examples of reflexivity. And as they did with adaptive reflection, the teachers each seem to have distinct reflexivity profiles developed over the many years that they have been teaching. So, if to sum up, reflexivity is deeper thinking back on your lessons, on your teaching, on your strategies, and making some improvements, acknowledging your weak and strong points.
Good. Yeah, I can add on to that what Marina said earlier about reflexivity. Even though she didn't talk about it, she shared a moment where a student maybe asked you a question you didn't know.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like, it's your face loss. You feel like you have to always have the right answer, but you can say, actually, that's a great question. Let's get back to that. So you can take your time. You don't have to rush to give the answer all the time. Okay, so
And this is the reflexivity.
it's a reflex. You gotta stop
Yes,
yourself.
and you think about that point later after class.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's fine. You should do that. You don't always have to give the answer.
And it's kind of strategy towards.
Important to be totally honest with your students. If you don't know something, if you don't know anything, I just never lie. I say that I don't know it because it's in the passive vocabulary. If my students try to check my C1 level verbs or nouns, I always say, do you use these words or nouns or verbs in real, practical, everyday speech? No, never. We always keep in mind just which is important for us, just words which are used on a regular basis. If I don't know anything, I say just, I heard, I read, but I have forgotten. Just, I'm a person, I'm not a robot. And Google, check up, or not totally check up, but look up. And they just look, okay, just determination, detrimented effect. Yes, just kind of very difficult words. Sometimes I can prove that in a real conversation, even native speakers don't use C1 or C2 words in their speech. That's why sometimes it's useless. Of course, we have to know.
So let's continue. I read section 5. So what I got from this section was that a lot of the times teachers, you may or may not get like a rubric, right? Here's a rubric, here's a rubric. Check what you did today, maybe after a lesson, okay? I did very well, I did poorly. So this is a way that people are reflecting through written form. Well, oh, this is the second part. When I see a rubric, I have trouble with this area because I'm not always honest, because sometimes there's too many options. They have 1 to less likely, 2, 3, 4, 5 to very likely. Sometimes I'll just check 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. I did the average, okay? So this is something that I had trouble with when it comes to written feedback. When I write my reflection, I like to write in my notebook how I did that lesson from specific moments. Maybe a student had a really good understanding of what I was teaching today. They asked a really great question and I was stuck. I couldn't give an answer. So that's why it makes me realize I don't need to know everything, right? And it gives me time to think about, oh, that's a question I never expected from a student. So that allows you a different feedback point. So that to me is a great way to write down, oh, this specific moment that a student asked a question, I'm gonna write that down, okay? But written feedback, rubrics, that's a form of reflecting on your practice, reflecting how you do.
I appreciate, I know the value, and I know that Oliver is a reliable person. Although I cannot say how to pronounce. Help me, he helped me a lot.
You know what? Now I'm not saying you are mispronouncing this one.
What you say?
I say, how did you pronounce this one?
It's very popular that not only negative feedback is just destructive for a student. Like, you mispronounce this word could have a destructive impact on the student. And teachers should find out more effective types of feedback, like positive.
There is a special term for that.
You have given good answer, but you have so much space and room to work for improvement. What about you? This question is not related to the article discussion. What do you think? Positive feedback, is it always appropriate in all situations? Sometimes I can give my feedback straightforwardly. Sometimes I think that it is very important
You are
to
wrong.
make student understand that he's wrong very fast.
Hey guys, listen.
It doesn't have any bad impact, but scientifically
How do you usually correct?
Okay, sometimes I can listen till the end, reflect, as you said, and then give very soft, mild feedback. You could have done it much better.
This part is mentioned in this article automatically.
I think with pronunciation it's really hard because you can't be stopping every other word. You have to let them finish, and if they keep making the same mistake, I would circle the word and I would say, okay, I'm going to repeat this word for you, and this is how you say it.
Yeah.
And you have everybody practice.
For you personally?
For the classes I've been in, I'll just let them keep reading, and this word right here that you just read, we're going to read it as a class and just repeat. So I don't like to stop all the time because it takes a lot of time. It'll waste a lot of people's time. So I want to go back to you, how you said, oh, am I a bad teacher? And you are very hard, I think as a person, you are very hard on yourself, right? You think everything has to be perfect. But remember, reflect on it and be like, just know in your head, everything does not have to go as planned. The students will learn something from you. You have to have grace for yourself, okay? And you're teaching your son, that's another part.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to 6.
Yeah, we do self-observation.
Yeah. What is self-observation?
Me personally, I never like the video and observe. I just always like try to avoid saying somebody else. But then I get used to this kind of reflection. I do exactly. Sometimes I pause, continue reflection, and it's good that we have technology now. It's available.
You might know the answer, but you're not going to give it. You want to let them think about it, so you can give them a chance to figure it out. I know it's language is tricky. It's changing all the time. It's nice to hear what other people think of their parts. It's because you have a different opinion of what is important. So it's just reflecting on your reflection.
What I most liked here is the point that you explained us this. The idea of making rubrics.
Socrates.
Philosopher, ancient Socrates. The father of reflection is Socrates. He said that by reflection, a human being can improve himself or herself in all ways. So, thinking about what has been done, and thinking about the better of doing that thing, a man can get constant improvement in every sphere of life. But later, this guy, John Dewey, he brought this idea from philosophy to teaching.
I would like to ask you the last question. Just you have mentioned that another teacher can come and observe the class.
Oh, always
But
give
in our
permission.
institute, when I have to fill in the observation form, I cannot write the truth.
You don't have to write the negatives on the paper. You can verbally tell them.
Yeah.
Because my teachers in New York, they always give me feedback. They can text me. I was like, oh, thanks so much. Or he can tell you. Because telling someone is probably more beneficial, but you don't want to hurt their pride. You want to encourage them. It's not negative feedback. It's just like, oh, maybe next time you can try this. But you don't have to write everything down.
And the question is, Marina, what if Dilo asks you to come to the lesson, to observe, and then to give her some feedback?
But
Not for the purpose
Don't say
of
but. Don't say but. Don't say but.
Not for the purpose of reporting.
Yeah.
Just
depending on what I asked. I mean, maybe you want to just tell me what you observed, how you felt the class went. It just depends on what I'm looking for. Hey, can you see how the students are interacting? How is their questioning?
only one point, yes.
I could tell you, hey, can you come observe me and how I'm doing? But it doesn't have to. Again, observations are don't be so stressed about it. It's supposed to be a learning opportunity for both of us, right?
What if, as a teacher who conducted the lesson, I don't need your idea at all?
It's always nice to hear what other people think about your teaching, because you're your hardest critic. You're the most difficult
If
judge.
you want this.
Yeah.
If
So
you
if I
want.
had Raul come to my class, I'd be like, hey, is there anything I could have improved on? How could I have done this better? I always want to be better. I don't want to stay the same. You have to try new things.
Yeah.